Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's training. I'm Kiri, honey, and today we are talking about mastering the art of expectations for stronger and more fulfilling relationships. All right, let's get into it. So we are focusing on a few different things we are going to talk about today. Why expectations are causing strain in your relationships, why you need to stop expecting so much from your partner and how you can do that. And then we are going to talk about 10 reasonable things you should be able to expect from the person you love. We're going to get straight into it. If you are new to me, hi, I am Kiri. My purpose is to help moms revive their relationship with themselves so they can have a stronger partnership, role model healthy relationships for their kids, and have more fun and connection along the way. My vision, my broader vision, the reason that I do these trainings and have a community is because mothers are the foundation, the rock, the glue, the cement that holds our families together, and it ripples through the whole of society. So looking after a mother's health and well-being is vital. Mothers need to feel empowered with the confidence to role model healthy relationships, and they need to be in a place where they can have such an amazing ripple effect on their families and society and the world as a whole. Mothers need to thrive in order for their children to thrive and their relationships to be successful. The values that I share and that I ensure my community has: we value families, we value spreading joy and having more fun. We are committed to your success. We believe in trust, honesty, and integrity. We believe in personal growth, self-expression, and creativity, community, and of course, discretion. All right, so let's get stuck in. Why are expectations causing so much strain on our relationships? Well, we set high expectations of our partners, largely based on our own personal experience. So how we were raised, what we saw from our parents, grandparents, whoever was looking after us as a child. So we set those expectations on ourselves. If it's anything like my parents and how I grew up, I saw my dad basically doing anything that my mother asked. So, of course, I'm going to expect that as well. We see it in our friends' relationships. We see it through social media, celebrities, magazines, all that kind of stuff, as well as the movies. I mean, we've all seen Disney and how those kinds of flawed expectations of our savior male person and how that can impact us in different ways. So whether we're aware or not, we do develop different beliefs around what a relationship should look like, and we develop expectations inside of that. But instead, what we need to do is become aware. So start reflecting on, okay, how have I actually been impacted by this? And start communicating that with your partners. So why do we need to stop expecting so much from our partners? Well, expecting too much from your partner can put unnecessary strain on your relationship and lead to disappointment and frustration. For example, if you are expecting your partner to set up dates and you expect a flower, you expect them to choose a nice restaurant that you're going to like, you expect all these different things, when it doesn't meet your high standard, how are you going to feel and how are they going to feel? Are they going to want to keep trying if they're constantly going to be met with disappointment? Or instead, should we simply expect to have quality time together, and therefore what that looks like will not be disappointing because the goal was to connect? Okay, so let's do a bit of a reframe when it comes to that. Now, I just need to close the screen so I can see what's happening. Okay. Reasons why we need to stop expecting so much. Okay. We are all unique individuals. We all think differently, have different experiences, all of that. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. So expecting perfection, expecting things to go right every time, totally unrealistic. High expectations cause unneeded pressure and stress. Another example I can put in here is if you are expected to be a certain way or to show up in a certain way when you get home from work, or et cetera, if you're not in that space, are you going to want to come home? Probably not. Excessive expectations hinder freedom. So if you're constantly expected to act a certain way, that's like not allowing you to be your authentic self, right? You're forced to try and pretend like maybe you're okay. You have to pretend like you had an amazing day, et cetera, and it might lead you to feel suffocated or that you're being controlled. None of which are really great feelings. It can also lead to misunderstandings and conflict. Comparison can lead to feelings of inadequacy. If you've ever seen, say, in a movie, I know I've seen it recently, I can't think what movie it was, but where, I don't know, there's some character who makes all the other men feel bad because they're not living up to the way that this guy does stuff. And let's just remember that and social media is largely a reflection of the best parts of people's lives. They don't show you what's happening behind the scenes necessarily, right? So you might see that something else looks perfect, but let's be realistic about it and actually communicate realistic expectations. Relying too heavily on your partner for emotional support will become a burden. And that's something that I was doing. I was definitely looking to my husband to make me happy. But the reality is that I needed to do that for myself. And his role is to support that and be there, but not to be the person that I put all that pressure on. And then that said, it's also a breeding ground for resentment, because you'll just be growing these negative feelings towards each other, basically. All right. So next slide. Okay. So how do we stop expecting so much? Well, first of all, we start with self-awareness and reflection. Reflect on what you actually expect. Is it reasonable what you expect? Are you aware of how much you're expecting? Is it fair? Would you want them to be expecting that from you? And then as you self-reflect, will help you understand why you have certain expectations. Is it because this is what you saw growing up? Is it because you've seen so much of this in the movies? Is it because maybe you're over I'm not sure what the word is I'm looking for, but maybe you had this experience and you want the opposite for your own life, but in doing so, you're kind of going one extreme to the other, and you need to be meeting somewhere in the middle. And so is what you're doing actually helpful to your relationship, or is it harming it? And then you need to open up the communication pathways. Discuss with each other openly. What are your expectations? Create a non-judgmental space. You need to be able to communicate with each other, whatever that is, without fear that the other person is going to react or feel judged or any of that. Because if you've got those feelings in there, then you're not going to be able to want to share, and your partner isn't going to be want to share. And that in itself creates its own problems, because you're not able to fully be yourself. And then we need to be able to express imperfections. Okay, we're all imperfect beings. You will make mistakes, and a way to help stop expecting so much is to actually celebrate the fact that you will make mistakes, but you also have really great strengths. And if you can openly talk about the areas where you do struggle and be open to supporting each other grow in those areas, that will really be a game changer as well. Okay, now let's get on to the 10 reasonable things you should be able to expect in a healthy relationship. So there are, I'm not talking, you should never expect anything. Okay, that's not possible. Sorry, I need some water. Hang on. But the expectations you have need to be reasonable, they need to be respectful, and they need to be mutual. So let's have a look at those now. Number 1, communication. You should be able to expect to have open, honest, and respectful communication. Being able to share your thoughts, feelings, and concerns without fear of judgment, like we were just talking about, is crucial, because it allows for you to have mutual understanding. It allows you to be yourself, and it encourages a healthy relationship. 2, support and encouragement. You should be able to expect that your partner will be supportive of your goals, aspirations, your personal growth. You should be able to encourage and motivate each other to pursue your interests, your passions, your dreams, all that kind of stuff. Now, sometimes our partners may not understand our goals, and perhaps you have, as you've evolved as a person, as life has changed, your goals, your interests may change and grow with you. Now, this can create conflict for sure, but the solution really is having that clarity and being able to communicate that. So you need to be able to constantly self-reflect. Okay, so why is this something that I'm interested in? Why do I want to pursue this? And then be able to communicate what you want and why you want it. Because again, if we are able to be our true selves without fear of judgment, without fear of letting people down, without fear, period, then we can really understand each other and be able to support each other through that. Number 3, trust and loyalty. So trust is foundational, and it's something we all, well, I feel like we all have different levels of, I guess, places where trust has been challenged. But you should be able to expect your partner to be loyal. You should be able to expect them to be reliable and committed to the relationship. Now, this is not something that you can just expect without having to work at it. Okay? You must be able to communicate what being reliable and committed looks like in your relationship. If you are not very nice to be around, if you are constantly expecting a whole lot of unreasonable things from your partner, if you basically, what it says at the bottom of the slide, the grass is greener where you water it. So you need to be looking after your relationship in order to be able to have the trust and the loyalty. Okay. If your relationship isn't great, trust will likely be broken because there's already something wrong in there. Okay. And also, don't make assumptions that you or your partner already know what your expectations about being reliable or committed looks like. You need to define that for your own relationship. Number 4, respect. You need to be able to respect each other's boundaries, opinions, and individuality. So this doesn't mean that you always have to agree or you have to go along with everything that the other person does. You are individual people. Sometimes you just need to be able to agree to disagree and respect the fact that the other person is their own person and they are allowed to have their own beliefs and so on and so forth. Obviously, if it's so opposing to you and your values and the way that you see the world, then your relationship may not work, okay? Because you need to be able to align your values. You need to, I guess there's more layers in here, and I feel like this could be a very complicated discussion. But basically, you need to be in a place where you respect the other person and value them, okay? You need to respect the fact that you both have different experiences, you have different childhoods, you have different backgrounds, and basically you need to be open to appreciate a different perspective and empathize with that. Number 5, emotional intimacy. So you should be able to expect to be emotionally connected and vulnerable with each other. So this is where, again, we've talked about you were able to share your emotions, you're able to share your experiences and feelings without fear or judgment. In order to feel safe in doing this, you do need to feel confident within yourself. You can't just expect somebody else to be open and honest with you if you can't be open and honest with yourself. Okay, so this is a very important stage here. Number 6, you should be able to expect shared responsibility. Our relationships are a team, right? You want to feel like you are in this journey together. So both partners should share the responsibility of managing a household, the finances, other tasks based on your abilities and interests. So if you both like to cook, take turns with the cooking. Don't make assumptions about traditional male and female responsibilities, because if it doesn't fit or align with the way that you do things, then don't do it. Discuss your strengths and weaknesses. Support each other to do all the various tasks around the home rather than expecting someone else to do it for you. If you go around expecting that you are always going to have to take the rubbish bin out and then somebody else does it for you, won't you feel a great deal of appreciation? So if you make that assumption, well, I'm going to have to do it. I guess it depends also energetically how you put that forward, because if you go into it like, oh, I always have to do this. If you're like Eeyore in this situation, then it's not going to be as great. But again, so I'm kind of going off tangent, but again, it really is about communication and being able to talk about these kinds of expectations and just supporting each other to do the things, right? And it does say on this slide, be pleasant and ask for help when you need it, rather than assuming the worst from the person you love and saying things like, "Oh, they never do that. They would never do that. No, there's no way." You need to be in a different energetic space, okay, to be able to communicate in a way that, again, is respectful. All right. Number 7, another thing that you should be able to expect is to have quality time. You should be able to expect that you can have time together to nurture your relationship. So it could include doing things together like shared hobbies, like going for bike rides or having date nights, or simply spending time talking and connecting without devices or tech getting in the way. You could cook a meal together, discuss your day over dinner, all those kinds of things. So again, prioritizing connection rather than, I guess, how that looks. Number 8, you should be able to expect empathy and understanding. Being empathetic and understanding towards each other's feelings and experiences is crucial for a supportive and loving partnership. Again, we've talked about how everyone's experiences are different, how we have each got different childhoods, different friends, different things that we've grown up with, and an ability to relate to how our partner is feeling without trying to fix it or compare or belittle their experiences is really important. Compromise. Relationships require compromise and finding solutions that work for both partners, particularly during times of conflict and disagreement. We cannot always have our way, as much as that would be nice, right? Be aware, and particularly in the conflict space, be aware of how the other responds to conflict. So an example in my own household, when we are having an argument, I need time to process. I probably retreat more into myself, and my husband wants to hash it out right there and then. So we kind of need to meet in the middle. I maybe can't have as much time as I want to process things, and he needs to realize that he will not get his answers right away, but we will try and sort it out in a timely fashion. And I can tell you, we certainly are be able to do that now. Whereas before we might go like a few days without talking or something silly, but now it's like maybe an hour tops. Okay. So meeting each other halfway because you are aware and because you understand how the other feels and how what they need. And last is physical affection. You should be able to expect physical affection from your partner. This could look like hugging, holding hands, cuddling, kissing, and of course, you've got sexual intimacy as well. So remember that the only thing that differs from a friendship to a partnership is the kissing and the sex part. So it is incredibly important to be able to have those things to maintain a healthy relationship. on that note, I know how challenging it can be as a woman, as a mother, to get in a place where you feel comfortable with physical intimacy. Maybe you've lost that side of yourself a little bit. And so that is where I would encourage you to start with yourself and looking within to get some answers there. That is where you can find it. All right, that is it for today. Thank you for joining me for today's training. If you would like to learn the exact tools you need to revive your relationship with yourself so that you can revive your partnership in the exact order you need to learn them, you can join us inside the Relationship Revival Academy. There is a link here. You can go to kirihoney.com/academy. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you again next week.